Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of 3Max. Today, I'll share some more advanced commands that work with the mark and the region. If you need a refresher, feel free to check out my earlier video on basic movement and editing. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and if there's something specific that you'd like to see, please mention it in the comments below. Alright, let's go ahead and hop right in. So the first concept that I want to talk about is the kill ring. So in Emacs, when you kill text, it gets placed onto a ring, which is a sort of a circular buffer of items that you can cycle through. So as an example, I'll highlight this line here, and instead of wiping it with Control W, I'll send it directly to the kill ring with meta W, which doesn't remove the text from the region. So if I go down here and I do Control Y, you'll see that it gets placed onto the buffer. So I'll undo that, and I will also highlight this one and meta W to send that to the kill ring, and I'll do that with this last println as well. So again, meta W here, and now I'm gonna go ahead and wipe with a Control Y yank to Control Y, and now to cycle through the kill ring, I go ahead and push meta Y after a yank, and you'll see that the text that I yanked is now cycling through some of the text that I've yanked before. I've actually yanked a few more pieces here, which you can see. Another helpful selection command is meta at, which for me on my US keyboard is meta shift 2. It might be different for your keyboard depending on where you are. So if I push meta shift 2, what it does is it essentially activates the mark and moves it forward one word, and it continues to expand. So if I press it again, meta at, you'll see that it moves forward to the end of the println, and I can keep pressing it to keep moving forward by word to select more and more text into the region, which could be, wiped and yanked. Two more helpful commands are mark paragraph and mark whole buffer. So mark paragraph marks a paragraph in your current major mode. For me, I'm in Go mode right now. So for that, I push meta H, and you see it selects this whole function here in one go. So I can wipe that and go to the end and yank that and copy and paste a function pretty effectively. And then mark whole buffer, which is Control X, Control P, selects the whole current buffer, essentially the current file, so you can copy and paste a whole file if you've loaded it up into one of your buffers. So in Emacs, this whole concept of highlighting the selected text is enabled by a minor mode, which is typically enabled by default, called transient-mark-mode. And what that does is when we activate the region and set the mark, and move the pointer around, you see that the text that we've selected is highlighted. We can actually disable this behavior by pressing meta X and running transient mark mode, which toggles it on and off. And when we run that, it disables transient mark mode. And if we push Control Space now, which does set the mark and activate the region, you'll notice that the text does not get highlighted, but I can still wipe it just as before with this. Now, you might be wondering why this might be helpful. And once you get used to knowing where the mark is, you don't necessarily always need to have it highlighted. And I'll get into a few commands that hopefully should make that a little bit more clear. So the first notion where this might be helpful is that actually every time you set the mark, it adds it to a ring. Similar to the kill ring, there's actually a ring for the locations at which you've set the mark. So let's say, for example, we're up here at the top of the function and we set the mark, and then we move somewhere else in the file, and maybe here we were editing again and we set the mark there, and then we go to the end of the file, and maybe we want to jump back to the previous location. Again, imagine these are far apart in the buffer. To do that, we can run the command Control U, Control Space, and we can do it again, Control U, Control Space. And that actually moves the point to the previous locations where the mark was set. This can be helpful to navigate a file where you might jump around to different points in the file. You can consider these as almost like temporary bookmarks to get to previous locations where you were editing. And another helpful way to use this mode is the Control X command. So let's say we want to highlight this function here, copy it, and we'll paste it out here. And we want to go back to the beginning of the function. We can push Control-X, which swaps the location of the mark and the point. So after we yank, this will get us back to the beginning of that region. So maybe we want to go and change the name of the function name. Alrighty, that's all I've got for you today. So if you made it this far in the video, thank you for watching, and please don't forget to leave a comment if there's anything else that you'd like to see. And thank you to those of you who have already left comments. I'll see you next time.